The plane of existence stretched endlessly, a surreal realm where the air shimmered with shifting hues of silver and blue, casting an ethereal glow on the reflective ground below. The surface mirrored the stars that dotted the infinite expanse above, creating an impression of walking between twin heavens. Shadows twisted unnaturally, forming shapes that rippled like waves across a still pond alive with latent energy. Quez, the shadow-feathered serpent, floated gracefully in the air, his coiled body forming an elegant S. His iridescent feathers shimmered with every color of the spectrum, shifting in patterns that seemed to hold secrets of the cosmos. His sharp, ancient eyes burned with wisdom and purpose, tracking the subtle movements of the surreal landscape. Beside him prowled Coyote, the mischievous shadow. His blue robes flowed like liquid light, pooling and reshaping as he moved with a manic energy. His pointed ears twitched in rhythm with the faint cosmic hum that suffused the air. His ever-present grin was equal parts unsettling and inviting, his snout yammering with boundless curiosity and chaotic musings. To build the next config, Coyote, we must work together, Quez rumbled. His voice was deep, resonating through the shimmering air. Oh, must we? Coyote teased, tilting his head, his grin widening. We need to tether, Quez replied, his feathers rippling like waves with the weight of his words. Raising part of his coiled form, he summoned a set of stacked blocks that materialized mid-air. The blocks shimmered, adorned with glowing alchemical triangles. Their surfaces pulsed rhythmically as an exponential growth curve danced across them in golden light. To understand the reaction, Quez continued, his voice steady, to not become a ghost. Coyote snickered, wagging his tail. Oh, it's just infinite image, Quez. His laugh echoed faintly, distorted by the shifting reality around them. His grin grew wider as he watched the blocks shift and expand, their patterns evolving with each passing moment. Yes, Quez said, nodding slowly. That is the compound effect. Coyote spun in place, his arms wide. What will we spawn next? A plot? A game? What shall we build? Without warning, a bubble popped into existence, its translucent surface flickering with faint light. From within emerged the shimmering image of an elephantine sorceress. Her form was translucent and regal, her eyes calm as she stood before an anchor surrounded by a web of interconnected bubbles. Each bubble contained a swirling balance of light and darkness, their percentages constantly shifting. Coyote's grin stretched impossibly wide, his voice a mix of excitement and reverence. Ganesh, tell me, he howled, the bubbles, how have you created such perfect information, allowing to, but not holding true? The bubbles pulsed faintly, casting a kaleidoscope of light on Quez and Coyote's faces. Coyote's tone grew hushed, almost reverent. The dance of the universe, he murmured. Listen, every moment is speaking to you. The core, the place where it began, where the story starts, where we meet the djinn. The space around them seemed to thrum with energy as Coyote continued, his voice rising in a crescendo of cosmic insight. The story evolves, accelerated resolve, submission of order, calligraphy, a tip of the myriad forms of the divine, the source of the dream, meta-play, one mind, one game, one dream. Focus up, learn to play. Quez coiled tighter, his feathers glowing faintly as he observed the shimmering bubbles. The living Labros, Coyote declared, his grin never faltering. The mythiverse, here to stay. This is only the beginning anyway. Ahead, a large factory emerged from the reflective ground. Its smokestacks emitted concentric rings of smoke that expanded in perfect circles into the twilight sky. Above the factory floated the master alg, a surreal entity with a single crystalline eye and two pointed ears. Its gaze was unyielding, its form pulsing with an otherworldly rhythm. A large funnel adorned with glowing symbols pointed toward the factory entrance, humming softly. Coyote paused, tilting his head curiously. Where do you think that goes? He asked slyly, not waiting for an answer before bounding toward the factory's massive doors. Quez followed. His movements were fluid. Inside, the world transformed into a surreal folding game board. The ground shifted beneath their feet, each square adorned with sigilized hieroglyphs that glowed faintly. The symbols shifted and rearranged as they moved, reacting to their presence. You get what you put in, Quez observed, his tone contemplative. Ha! Yes, Coyote replied, his voice dripping with amusement. Not mindless, otherwise how would we find something new? But if A is B, then right you win, left you lose. Quez nodded thoughtfully, his gaze fixed on the shifting board. Up to down, if true then go. What is next? How does the piece fit into the bigger picture of the flow? What is the goal? Coyote asked, his tone briefly serious. Survive, yes. Then model growth. Iteration marches forwards, chunk of space toward that goal. Brick by brick, Quez said, his voice resonant, turn a molehill into a mountain. The game board folded and shifted, creating a pathway that led to the other side. They stepped off the board and stood before a large white flag. Its surface shimmered briefly before transforming into a black diamond that pulsed with energy, its facets reflecting infinite possibilities. Coyote's tail flicked excitedly as he grinned. A tactical procedure, patterns of order and advantage, fitness of time allocation, focus of finite resources, efficient imagination of passing time. One decision node toward the hierarchy's final flow. And so, Quez said quietly, his voice carrying a weight of authority, it begins. The diamond's surface rippled, casting beams of light that refracted across the surreal plane. Quez and Coyote stood in silence, the cosmic hum of the mythiverse swelling around them. In the endless space of shimmering reflection and infinite possibilities, the stage was set for what would come next.